All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Mario Tomberli. I'm joined by my co-host Buddhika Madduma. This is episode one of our brand new podcast. Uh, we're both partners within a company called LayerNext.ai, and we're here to talk about everything we do and everything AI. Buddhika, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, it's super exciting to start this podcast, and we would like to share what we learn through this journey by talking to the customers to building AI, and yeah,
Absolutely,
super
it's super
excited
exciting.
to be
I'm
here.
super excited to do this. It's been a journey, as we both know. Understanding AI, understanding how to take a concept from a thought all the way to a product and how to deliver that product to a customer and in a space that's sort of new territory for everyone because AI is kind of a new thing and it's an interesting challenge that's in front of us, but also exciting all at the same time. I think it would make a lot of sense, Buddhika, if we talked a little bit about ourselves, just kind of give them a little bit of a backstory about how we got here. Do you want to go first or should I go first?
Yeah, you can go
Sure,
first.
sure.
Yeah.
So what got me here? Well, I started a long time ago in the space of accounting, but this is back in the 90s, got drawn into business intelligence in the late 90s, early 2000s, in the early days of business intelligence. I was an accountant, a financial analyst at the time, and my boss, he sort of put a product in front of me. It was literally a product that we purchased but never used. It was called Cognos. Some of you from the BI space might recognize that name. And he just sort of said, here's something we have. We don't really use it. Let's try and find a way to use it effectively. And I kind of dove in head first, not really knowing much about it, excited to try that. And after 2 long years of hard work, I kind of got to a point where we were able to do some really neat reporting within the BI space with that tool. There were, of course, limitations at that of the product and what we could do, but it was still, for its time, a super exciting time and really got me hooked into BI. That was like early 2000s. Fast forward 20 years, and my career changed a few times. Got into recruiting, and that's how I actually met Buddhika. I'm an IT recruiter, and we met through those means. And then when Buddhika tapped me on the shoulder to talk to me about how he's incorporated AI into the BI space, I was hooked. I jumped in headfirst again, and yeah, that kind of brought me into the folds, and super excited to be on this journey with Buddhika.
Yeah, my background is engineering. Throughout the years, I was building the product, mainly the AI product, since 2000, when I graduated from my engineering degree. At those days, neural networks are the basic things and no one cares about it. But since then, we keep building, and the AI was evolving, and I came to Canada and I do a master's in AI in 2009, and then I dropped out from the PhD because I didn't feel that I want to do a PhD. But since then, we have built a couple of companies and couple of products, and a couple of exist. And now LayerNext is the interesting story. And the previous startup is basically the mobile app, help people to run together in virtually. But the problem we found that if I want to understand the customer cohort and how to analyze these customer behaviors, there was no easy way. I always ask my engineering team to build dashboards for me. So then the issue is it's taken a lot of time for engineers to build this kind of dashboard report because it's never ending. Because today I want to analyze where my ad marketing dollars best performing. Tomorrow I want to understand which
Well, it's a
users doing
constant moving
what.
target, right?
Exactly, constantly moving target. So then at that time, there was no good technology to build the conversational based analytics or the BI. So then fast forward to the 2022, the ChatGPT movement, that's we realized that these language models are good enough and capable enough to actually build this kind of more intuitive and conversational based analytics platform. That's why we start building LayerNext.
Right. So, like, I know one terminology that we've thrown around and we've sort of played around with within our ecosystem is business cognition. How did that come about? What does that even mean?
Yeah, what is the idea behind the business cognition or the strategic intelligence? So BI used to be a dashboard and the reports. You ask someone in your data team, hey, I want to analyze this, then they're going to provide the report or the dashboard. But sometimes it can be a couple of days or can be weeks or months. So, but the question is that static dashboard or the reports going to serve the business purpose? Because business is always dynamic and changing every single day. You can see that tariff comes on and also it goes off. So everything is changing, market going up and down every single day, maybe in single hour. So how come your BI report or the static dashboard are going to keep up with this kind of thing? It's not only going to show you the maybe small portion of the what's happening, but not going to show you what's actually really happening underneath of your business. So that's the thing we want to do. We don't want to build another BI platform. We want to build a high-level business insight platform or business cognition or strategic intelligence that can actually help leaders to actually take decisions.
Yeah. Well, I know one thing that we talk around a lot is about actionable insights. It's about the ability to not just give person information, but to give them knowledge. And what I mean by that is when you look at a dashboard, look at a report, and there's some great ones out there, and more dialed you are into your business, the more complex and the more information you can receive. But at the end of the day, it's information, and you still need to know what to do with it, and you still can make errors around that information. Whereas we try to go that next layer where we go, hence the name LayerNext, that next level where we're giving the person knowledge, we're giving the person beyond that information, where you can now see hypotheses around problems that are nuanced in nature, the whys and the hows of those questions. Like, why is revenue down 3% this quarter? That could be a compounded issue that ties into hundreds, if not thousands, of different data points, which is going to be very hard to perceive from a human, but very attainable to perceive from an AI perspective, which has been super exciting. The other thing that's really interesting, I think, that we're doing that has really kind of captured me and set my mind racing on this topic is the ability for us to take unstructured information, data like customer feedbacks or customer reviews on your website, which is sort of, again, not a standard traditional data set, and make sense of it and give those leaders the ability to kind of process that in a meaningful way, and then ask how and why type of questions around it. So to me, that's sort of some of the really exciting stuff. I'm always drawn to things that are new and challenging and entering the marketplace, but it's been fun. It's been a fun journey for sure.
100%, yeah. So I want to double down on one thing, like unstructured data processing, right? Because that's the ability we didn't have before before the ChatGPT or the large language model, because there was no way you can process 100,000 of customer feedback or the comment for a particular e-commerce store or the even airport or anywhere. So now, actually, this LLM and new AI technologies enable this data to be analyzed at scale.
Right. So I think an interesting question to ponder upon, because I mean, I understand it, but not the level you do. You're an engineer. I am not an engineer, but I have an engineering mindset, or at least think that I do. you talk about how it's sort of business cognition. It can answer the how and why questions. Like, how does it answer the how and why questions? Like, tell me a little bit how it does that.
Yeah, so there are so many chat with my data application because it's a natural, right? Because AI plus the data, so
Right.
it's a natural. So there was when the chat GPT released and the GPT-4, after GPT-4, people realized that this GPT-4 model, for turbo model, has some reasoning capabilities and also with including the planning. So, and also the new technology paradigms came into the market called the RAG, retrieval augmented generation. Now you can connect the external data.
What was that called again? Sorry, RAD,
RAG, RAG, yeah,
RAG. What does that
yeah,
stand for?
retrieval augmented generation.
Okay. What
So,
does that mean in common language?
yeah, so basically, what it can do, you can actually bring the data from your internal databases, like a SQL database that store your ERP data, and bring
Right.
into the model, like a GPT-4, like essentially Chat GPT. You can provide and ask question, right? Because the Chat GPT is like a closed book. It has all the knowledge about the world. During the training, it's consumed all the available data in the internet and store inside the GPT. But if you ask a question
Right.
about
Right.
your data, let's say your business, it doesn't have that knowledge. So that's why you need to feed that external knowledge to the model. That's the technique called RAG, retrieval augmented generation. Okay.
Well, I'm
Yeah.
gonna play devil's advocate here for a sec, though.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Did you finish your thought there, or did you want to
No,
keep going?
go ahead. Yeah.
You're being so nice to me today, Buddhika.
Yeah.
I'm not used to it.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah.
No, I want to ask you, like, well, why not just, like, isn't what Copilot does? That's Microsoft. Why wouldn't I just use Copilot?
Yeah. Lot of people asking this question, right? So actually it's a segue to the why it's so difficult. So that's we actually continue the previous question. Why is difficult? If you just enable or expose your internal data system or the file system like a SharePoint or your internal SQL servers to the ChatGPT or the LLM, the huge context, right? Because ChatGPT cannot consume that huge amount of data at once. Okay.
Right.
So because I'm going a little bit technical or deeper. There's a
Yeah.
context limit, right? There's a window. There's a window. You can actually input the data within that window to the model. So,
Right.
so anything you want to feed to the model should be within that window, because initial models it's only have 2K tokens. 2K tokens means you assume that it's like a words, how many words in
Right.
the paragraph. Okay. So okay, and but the larger model, right, recent model now it allow 1 million tokens. So still, you cannot feed all the data to the model into once and ask questions. Okay. So the problem is with the most of this chat with my data app and in Microsoft Copilot, why they're failing, there's no good technology in build with this chat with my data app to feed the data, relevant data to the model. When you ask a question, it can answer. Because everything model doesn't know about your business or your data. So it's super
Right.
important to actually provide the relevant context to the model. Then model is smart enough to actually answer this question.
Is that kind of like hallucinations you're talking about?
Yeah, and also the hallucination is happening because the model doesn't have enough contents about your business. Yeah,
Oh, so but those are different things then.
yeah, it's
Okay.
part of it.
So
Yeah,
so it's if I'm hearing you properly, and I'm gonna try and dumb this down more for myself than anyone else,
yeah,
but you're saying that the context around your data and the business is what kind of makes LayerNext a little more fine tuned to the customers. Is that what you're saying?
yeah. Two different things. Uh, what I want to actually mention, you asked the question about why most of the Copilot like application fail and why it's hallucinating. Why it cannot actually answer your business questions properly. You're asking, hey,
Right.
my revenue down. Find me why. Right? So
Right.
what's the proper way? If you ask from your business analyst or human, how they would do? They will first go to your database. They will first identify where is the data stored to answer this question.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're going to find the
So
tables and the
yeah,
fields and whatnot, the database. Yeah. Then they're going to
exactly.
have to understand. They're probably going to have to understand what is the definition of sales. What is that? What constitutes a sale in the business processes? I guess. Right.
Exactly. So then they understand that where's the first the question, then where to find the data, then they're going to find the data and they're going to retrieve the data. They have to write a SQL query or find that like a file stored in the SharePoint. They're going to bring that data and process it. Let's say you need to have a correlation between the sales and the marketing spending or something, okay, in order to answer
Right.
why revenue down, and do the format the data to the way you can actually present to your CEO, like a table, graph, or the anything you want. So it's a process. But when you ask that question from the Copilot or Chat with My Data app, most of the first generation these apps, they didn't have that capability. It's a single shot prompting is not going to helpful. If you even though you expose all your data to the model doesn't know which data is relevant, which data is not relevant to answer this question. Okay,
Right.
so that's why it's failing. So now, if you can actually index most of this enterprise data in searchable way, so then you do pre-processing before you actually answer this question. You try to mimic the same human workflow in more agentic way. Now that's why I call now we little bit tapping into the agentic era. So basically, you try to repeat the same human workflow with the small steps, and but those are connected to each other. So
Right.
those
Right.
steps or individual step can bring the or perform some action similar to a human. Okay,
Right.
so
Right.
then it can actually formulate the answer, final answer you want. So that's what LayerNext doing, and also I'm pretty sure other people also doing the same thing, because they
Right.
realize that single Copilot like single shot rack system cannot answer the user question properly. That's what's so much
Right.
disappointed in the market right now, because people jump into the bandwagon, right? Okay, AI,
Yeah.
everyone want to try. Microsoft
It's almost
actually,
like yeah. It's becoming a buzzword.
yeah, it's a buzzword, and Microsoft deployed so much GPT Copilot agent into the enterprises because they have the leverage of the distribution. Then it didn't work. They didn't work, and now nobody trusts it, and it's super hard to convince people to actually, hey,
Well,
we are
that's
using
just it,
something
right?
different.
I mean, I think you're hitting on the head. Like the hardest part, I think, or I mean, there's lots of hard parts of starting up a business, and we could do a whole bunch of episodes just on the challenges of the entrepreneur. But one of the hardest parts has been making people really understand what we do and why it's different, and like who is that customer and who is that user? Why would they use our product versus Copilot and all those kind of things? Because you know being part of the sales process a lot myself, you know, when you sell a product that hasn't existed before, it's hard to create a need out of nothing. When they don't have anything to compare it against, or
Yeah,
what
but
they
but
compare it
but, but
against is something incorrectly.
I want to disagree with that thing. Why? Because there's a clear need. That need is fulfilled by today the human analyst to
Well,
some level.
we know it. We know there's a need. We know there's a use case for it.
No,
But
no,
I,
I
I
mean,
think
you should
I
go.
think we there is a use case for it, but it's a challenge to try and even understand. Well, who is that ideal customer who would really benefit from this, and I mean, that's a good question to ask. Like, what does a customer need to, whether it's us or any like data analytics, BI, AI centric tool, what does a customer need to, what do they need to be ready for something like LayerNext or any tool like that?
No, I have two hypotheses on that particular thing. If you ask data team, they will provide you different answer. But if you
Okay.
ask from the CEO or the C-level decision makers or executives, they will provide you a different answer. Okay, two different answers because the expectations are different. But
Yeah,
if you look at the, we had so many conversations with this C-level executives and also the both sides, right? So
well, it's been, like I said, it's been a learning curve for both of us. Like we've
Yeah.
been trying to wrap our head around who is that customer and who is that ideal user.
Yeah. So basically, what we see there's a clear pattern. Always, when we show our demo to the executives, they super get excited. They want to do this. But when you go
Right.
to the other side, the most of the data team, because the expectation is different, right? They used to configure the most of the BI tools like Power BI or the Tableau like things, and setting up this dashboard, cleaning the data, blah blah. So many things. So the new LayerNext like system not designed for that kind of a behavior. Yeah, there still need some configuration, but it's completely new, right? But
Right.
the executive, on the other hand, what they see, this platform is actually they can ask question and they can do by themselves, like most of the insight they can generate by themselves. So
I
that's
would
why
disagree
they
with you
have
a
to pay
little. I
out.
would disagree with you a little bit there because, you know, again, back to my origin story. Like I had most of the reporting I did was as an analyst for the executive team, and there were executives that could care less about the journey of how I got there, and there were executives that I wanted for every question I answered, they had 10 new questions for me. And they kept on going and going because they had that analytical mindset. So, yes, it's a tool for executives, but I think you have to be a little bit of an analyst at heart, if you will. Like you have to have a bit of curiosity in you about the whys of your business, kind of thing, right? But anyways, continue on. Go on with what you're saying about the executives.
Yeah, so you are being executive because why? Because you have good decision maker, right? That's what your job.
Right.
So, so you have some analytical skill, you have some curiosity, right? Those are the two things you must have as executive.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So then,
But sometimes I'm just saying some leaders they just how to put it, they either they run their department because they know that department inside and out, or they, you know, they just do things differently. There were certain leaders I've encountered that just really embrace the analytics of it, and there's certain that don't. But I agree with you. Like at the end of the day, our tool, it's meant to be kind of interactive in nature. It's meant to allow, you know, a person who has an understanding of a department or a company or organization to kind of dive in head first and really think. But you have to really think, I think, about the biggest challenge is because it's so open-ended, you have to really think about what it is you want to know about your company when you use our tool. Like when I was first playing with it, very first few times, I had to spend a long time just playing with it and just trying to understand what is that I want to know about my company, you know, and then of course as the creative juices started flowing and start thinking about the problems we have, and as I start seeing some of the output, you know, again, every answer almost exposed to me new questions I had because I had questions about the answers, if that makes sense. But again, you definitely have to be curious in nature for sure.
100%, yeah. So what we see so far in the market, if I summarize the thing, most of the leaders, they would like to have a product yesterday. Okay. But when you go to the data team, there's some resistance and or the hesitance because those are legitimate questions. Why? Because they eventually, ultimately, they are responsible to provide the accurate answers and cleaning the data and also data governance and security and all sort of things.
Right.
And that concerns are legitimate. And also the LMs are not ready on the prime time because if you don't use it properly, it can actually hallucinate. There are so many things. And also there's some of the early stage product actually gave a negative impression about the market. There are so many things going on. And also there are so many, like you said, there's a buzzword and everybody try to actually sell so many product in the same space.
Yeah.
That could be another reason. But now, whether we like or not, how we going to generate insight or analysis, It's going to completely change for
Mhm.
sure, 100%. Because it's not going to be the same for sure, like you used to actually harness the insights or the create the dashboard or the reports. If for sure it's going to be agentic in the future, next
Mhm.
coming years, and most of this 80% of the work will be done by the AI and also agentic workflows, and the 20% work human will be doing the review and check and whether this answer is accurate. If not, then provide the feedback again to the AI to make it
I
correct.
think, when I think about AI in general, I was excited, back in 2022, just to sort of see the potential of what this was. And yeah, there's also, with like anything that's new, there's also a bit of fear that comes with it, fear of the unknown. Um, but I was more excited than anything else. Yeah, there's constant conversations about how do we put guardrails on this thing? How do we protect people's, companies, individuals, society from the negative sides of it? But I just see so much possible opportunity with AI that it just excites me just thinking about it. But um, overall, I think when you look at a tool like LayerNext or just AI in general, it's promising to sort of see where it is today, because to me, I'm a little older than you, Buddhika, as you know, and I remember back in the early 80s where computers and technology was, and I back remember even going a little when I got to be a little bit older into the early 90s when the internet was a new thing in the early 90s, and to see the transition of what it was to what it is now, or to go back in the 80s for those listeners out there that remember playing old Atari video games. I akin AI today to Atari video games in the 80s, and look at what video games are like 10, 15, 20 years later. So we're so early on in this journey of AI and its potential, and to see how powerful a tool it already is, it's going to be a way to augment individuals and companies in a way to make them so much more efficient and better at what they do. And to me, the thing I tell people all the time is the worst thing you could do is lean away from AI. I think it's one of those things where it's coming, whether whether you jump on that train ride or not. So if you lean away, it's not going to be long because technology accelerates at such a quick rate. If you lean away from these things, you might be you don't want to jump on that train too late, because if you do, your competitors, other people, they're going to have such a leg up on you in terms of using these tools. So how do you how do you get past that fear, I guess, is my question, when you talk to customers, or when you interact with your clients, the fear that they refer to this fear of the unknown. How do you get customers past that,
Yeah.
or has
So,
that been a problem?
like I said, most of the projects initiated by the C-level executive, then they're going to you have to work with the data teams or the IT department and organization. So if you there are two challenges we need to address about the implementation, right? This is not going to change or replace your jobs, right? That's 100%. But it's going to change how you work,
Right.
right? Because you used to, as a data engineer or the most of the analyst in the organization, you used to write SQL queries and cleaning the data and finding the right data for the analysis. Then you didn't have enough time to actually do the actual analysis, right? Sometimes you maybe work with your business leader to actually generate insight from the data.
Mhm.
Now, actually, you can be more productive because AI going to do those data cleaning, data retrieval, and also the do the complex manipulation, right? And then you can actually brainstorm with the AI, hey, whether this is actually correct, why it's happening, etc., etc.
Mhm.
So then you can be the thought leader. You don't have to wait until the business leader come to you and say, "Hey, can you find out why it's happening?" You can be more proactive and actually generate more strategic insights for the leaders
I
before they
agree
come to you.
110%. Like to me, when again going back to my origin stories there with BI, the ability I had to generate insights into our company about the details around our sales that just never was possible before. I was able to do it so much quicker, and I was able to do it so much more effectively with BI tools, and it just made me that much better of an analyst. And I think AI, fast forward to 2025, is going to do the same thing. It's going to make you 10x, 5x, 20x more better at what you do, and you're going to do things quicker and faster and more effectively, and you're going to be able to kind of dig into the hows and whys of these questions and this analysis in a way they just weren't able to do before. And it just, for those that lean in, I think you're just going to stand out as employees. And for companies that lean in, you're going to stand out in the market. You're just going to have such a competitive edge, whether you're an employee using tools or whether you're an organization in a marketplace. Leaning into these kind of technologies and really finding ways to leverage. And BI is just one of hundreds, if not thousands, of ways AI can be utilized in a meaningful way. And just sort of leaning into these things are just going to make these people, individuals, so much better. But what's more important, I think you said something that was really important to kind of hone in on. The one thing that we have to recognize is that AI, I always like saying the 80-20 rule. AI is it's gonna get you 80% there. You still need to think of those questions. You still need to interpret those questions and those responses, or however you interact with AI. You still need to kind of iterate on whatever it's doing for you, so that you can, think of the next step of whatever it's providing, or take what it's doing and add that 20% more to make it meaningful and impactful in your business or company. Would you agree with that, or what are your thoughts?
To some level, yeah, because like you said, but the hard part is, if AI can actually start thinking with you, help you actually brainstorm the questions. That's what we do with the hypothesis-based analysis, right? You ask him generic question like, hey, can you please analyze my last quarter sales and figure out what we are doing best and what we are doing bad. Okay, those are the generic questions. So then if AI can actually analyze that kind of scenario and come up with the set of come up with the set of finding, then we can double down
Well,
and ask
exactly. That's
follow-up
what I was
questions.
saying. Like, you
Go
have to
bigger
iterate
into
on it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. You have to take whatever it tells you, and I guess to some extent audit it or understand it, interpret it, and then dive deeper or double down on certain parts of it, or question what it does. And that's one thing I found really cool about AI, is that, when I interacted with it like I'm talking to another human being, it really feels like I'm talking to a human being. And it often, I'm just using ChatGPT's example, I catch it making mistakes all the time. So I double down on that, and I get it to kind of correct what its thought process to be in line with what it is that I'm thinking. Because at the end of the day, it's kind of weird to say this, but it's kind of like a human. It makes mistakes too. So you have to be engaged and interactive with it to get the most of it, I think.
Yeah. So the other thing in our space right now, the biggest the bottleneck for this kind of product is integration, right? Because
Right.
and also your data system readiness to adapt the AI. Most organization we work with, they have a data warehouse, but most of the pushback we get, hey, our data is not ready. So that's the biggest bottleneck we see today. The most organizations are not ready to adapt the AI product for the analysis purpose. So that's somehow in coming years, some product will be coming to the market, the AI powered product that can actually help organization to clean the data and bring the data to the AI ready state. Then the product like LayerNext can actually quickly integrate and get up and running within days.
So when you say AI readiness, like what does that mean? Like what does AI ready data even mean?
So if you look at your organization, right, your previous organization or company, So they use so many ERP system data to run in the day-to-day business operation, and also their payroll data maybe in the some other system,
Right.
and data is not in the one single place to
Right.
start, right? They said, oh, okay, we only have our ERP data in a SQL database somewhere, but our other HR data is not even in our warehouse. So
Right.
if you want to actually have a complete overall picture about your business, you need to bring all this data into the one place, right? Oh, there are new paradigms coming. We can now directly connect this kind of thing to the models using the MCP, right? Model. There's a new protocol. So the now we also have to explore this avenue. I don't have much information on how we're going to do this, because previous paradigm was, hey, you need to bring all your data to the ETL, to the data warehouse. But now things a little bit shifting. Maybe we can directly integrate the applications to the AI models,
Right.
to the MCP like protocols. So that's actually for another day
Well,
discussion, yeah, for the MCP.
yeah, for sure. And I mean, ETL, I mean, that's a term that we both know, but um, tell me, I mean, well, I'm going to tell you what I think it means. You tell me if I'm right or wrong. Okay.
Yeah,
Me, when I think
yeah.
of ETL
Okay.
and a data warehouse, it's like you got a point of sale system, an ERP system, a payroll system. You have all these different systems in businesses, and they all have their own tables and of stored information that's relevant to those each individual piece of software. So to me, a data warehouse is saying, okay, we're going to take all this data, we're going to extract it, the E and ETL, from these places, uh, and then we're going to transform it. Now, transform it, I mean, the way I just interpret it is like we're just going to muddle with it a bit to make sure we keep the data integrity there, but we're making the data sort of coherent across from different places, and then the load, just means we're just going to load it up into a data warehouse, so it's all kind of in one place. Am I getting it right, or am I way off?
No, you're almost there, yeah.
Look at me, and I'm not even a data expert.
No, that's good enough. But the hardest part, there are how many applications you're going to use in your organization, right? So you must have a credit card application on all the transaction on the credit card.
Well,
Okay, so
no, I was gonna say,
okay, go
if
ahead.
you think about it too, like, okay, so you have all the different data from all these different places, but then as a company goes on, you know, let's say they use SAP, which is sort of one of the largest ERP tools out there. Well, there's constant new modules being added to it. There's new versions of SAP that companies migrate from old versions to new versions. So I would imagine the complexities of, it's not just a matter of like a single source of data, like an ERP tool, could evolve and change over the life of that tool. Or if I switch from SAP to another ERP tool, then there's sort of this, how does the data from the old ERP system interact with the data from the new ERP system, interacting with a tool like LayerNext? Have you guys thought of these problems before? Have you solved those kind of problems
So
within a data warehouse?
no, those systems should be handled in the data warehouse, right? Because the data warehouse has a schema. When you're writing ETL to the new ERP system, you should match the new ERP system data with the existing data warehouse schema, right? That's what usually happens.
I mean, I'm not a smart guy like you, Buddhika. What does schema mean?
That's a database schema. It's a database table structure. If you have a table, one table called revenue, your revenue table have transaction ID, maybe the description and the amount or the quantity, right? Something. Okay,
Right.
I just made up.
Yeah.
So then, if you have a different ERP system, it has a different table how they calculate the revenue. So, but when you're transforming or use to the ETL, you need to still match to the data warehouse table structure. You understand? This mapping should be happen. So then
Right.
it's going to solve the problem. Yes. Then you don't have any garbage data in, oh, not garbage. There must be still garbage data, but at least schema is
Well,
the same.
I mean,
Yeah,
I've
yeah,
heard that expression a lot,
yeah,
garbage in, garbage out, or
yeah.
because that's the other problem too with data is you have humans interacting with your systems, and there, two different users are going to find two different ways to input that form that they're filling in, or they'll enter stuff erroneously or find bypasses or ways around it or ways of circumventing certain aspects of a tool. And that's always a challenge with any system, I think. But it's at the end of the day, it's yeah, I guess that's the purpose of the data warehouse or the schema, as you put it, or the sort of consolidation of all this information in kind of one meaningful place. So what do you see, like, going back to that customer or the user? Do you think this is for everyone, or do you see this being a tool for only certain business at certain degrees of maturity around their data? Or what do you see, like, if you want to utilize AI within your data, like what does an organization have to do today to get themselves ready for AI with their data, interacting with their data?
Yeah, so for the LayerNext like tool, what we learn on the hard way, right? Because initially when you build in this product, we want to access to any customer. We say yes, we accept it. It's like any human who has a pulse. Okay, we want.
So you're looking at cheap bait, right?
Okay, yeah. But soon we realize that not every customer going to helpful, right?
Yeah. No, so that's been a journey too, is understanding that certain customers, as much as we want to help them, they're just not ready to take their data to the next level. Like
exactly. So then what we learn, even we develop the ETL for some customers because we want to actually see how their data, actual real data, because we didn't have access to the real data. So the actually valuable, this customer help us to actually initial level to understand what actual data system look like. We even build a ETL and set up the data warehouse for this customer. But even though it's not our job, but we realize that when we get more and more customers, so the medium-sized businesses with the mature data stack, and also having a couple of data engineers on their team, and with the data analyst in their team. So that's actually helpful for us because they understand their data, and then we don't have to actually reverse engineer and understand or create an ETL kind of thing. What we realize, when you have more data, when you actually further in your data maturity level, so it's easier to see the ROI of a LayerNext like product. Otherwise, if you have small amount of data, you don't clearly see the value of this kind of product.
Yeah.
Because you don't, because you know exactly how many product or how much revenue you actually generated. But once
you're just closer, you're more in tune to what's happening within your business.
Exactly.
Like you're just closer to the action. You're closer to the front lines, if you will. You're closer to the action of your business. So if someone wanted to find us, where would they go looking to find LayerNext? Like, if I want to ask you a bunch of questions and see if it's a good tool for us, where do I go?
You go to the LayerNext.ai, and you can set up you can actually set up a demo or request a demo,
right?
And then someone from our team help you.
Okay. What's the big takeaway? What's your what do you want to leave? What's kind of a final thought you want to leave with anybody listening to this podcast about, whether it's about LayerNext or just about AI or business intelligence or business cognition? What's the final thought you want to leave with our listeners?
Yeah, so I think we're going to continue this thing based on the today's first experience.
Inaugural.
Yeah. So, but
episode 1 of many.
Yeah. So so basically the takeaway here, AI just starting. We started building this product, I think 2 years ago, before even ChatGPT, because we were initially building the data infrastructure. And now on top of that, we provide basically the strategic intelligence or business cognition layer. This product, we are looking for the early adapters or innovators who actually want to actually get the maximum power of the data to improve their business operations. So that's what the customers we are looking for at this point, and who willing to actually be become a partners and help us to build this product, and also same time they're getting
Yeah, and I would like to sort of say that first of all, thanks, Buddhika, for joining me here today. It's been fun. I'm sure more episodes to come, and I'm sure this thing will evolve and change as we go forward. But my big thing that I want listeners to think about is, um, we always have, when you look back at a time or a period of time and thought like, oh, geez, if I only would have known this, or if I only would have known that, I would, I could have been so much further ahead with whatever it is. And I think we're kind of at one of those interesting crossroads in society. People are kind of, again, there's this fear I sense when I talk to people about AI and what it does, but I think it's, there's going to be bumps all along the way. But I think the big thing here is the people that lean into this stuff, the people that are inquisitive in nature and explore these things and understand how they impact your lives, your businesses, are just going to be the winners. They're going to be the ones who get a better grasp of these tools and these technologies. And I really view it as like supercharging your own brain. It's a tool like ours is gonna, and I'm sure there's others. It's just gonna supercharge you as a user to make you stand out from the rest, whether it's your company or your business. And I think, yeah, like leaning away is not the play here. I think it's you lean into these things, explore them, find out what works for you and what doesn't. And I think if you do that, only good things are going to happen.
Yeah. So let's have another session.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
discuss more
Thanks,
deep,
Buddhika,
more deep conversation about the our vision and how the more technical discussion. I like to actually participate more technical discussion because.
Of course you do. You're an engineer. I want to talk about sales, business, and cool, fun stuff.
Yeah.
You want to talk technical. I want to talk like exciting and emotional stuff.
Okay. Sounds good.
Okay. All right, then. Thanks.
Goodbye.
Bye.